The Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. Picture this, a young guy, buzzing with that electric mix of excitement and nerves that only hits when you think you've cracked the code to your first million. He sits down with the one person who's legally obligated to believe in him, his mom. "Mom, I've got this business idea. Want to hear it?" he asks. And naturally, she says yes. Because that's what moms do. He launches into his pitch. "You're always on your iPad, right? So imagine this. A cookbook app, made specifically for iPad. All your recipes in one place, chef videos, a shopping list that syncs to your phone. And get this, only $40. Way cheaper than those massive cookbooks collecting dust on your shelf." He's practically vibrating with excitement. In his mind, he's already watching the downloads roll in, reading 5-star reviews, building an empire. His mom pauses for just a second. But then she catches the gleam in his eyes, and she does what any mom with a heart would do. She absolutely lies to him. "Oh, sweetie, that sounds wonderful," she coos. "And $40 is such a steal. Will it have pretty pictures?" He floats out of that kitchen like he's walking on air. He thinks he's just gotten the validation he needed, the green light to change his life. So he quits his job, dumps his life savings into building this app, and months later, he's sitting there completely baffled, wondering why literally nobody, not even his mom, actually bought the thing. That little scene, in 1,000 different flavors, is the silent killer of more dreams, more startups, and more brilliant ideas than any market crash or economic downturn. It's the tragedy of the false positive, the sweet, well-meaning lie that sends you racing full speed in exactly the wrong direction. Rob Fitzpatrick, the author we're diving into today, lived through this nightmare. He burned through years of his life and mountains of investor cash chasing ideas that everyone claimed to love, only to discover they were just being nice. And from the ashes of those failures, he uncovered something beautifully simple. When it comes to your business idea, you should never ask anyone if they think it's good. Not your best friends, not your coworkers, and definitely, absolutely not your mom. So what's the alternative? How do you figure out if your business actually has legs when everyone around you, out of pure kindness, is feeding you lies? That's exactly what we're about to uncover. By the time we're done here, you'll have this powerful framework for conversations that slices through the politeness like a hot knife through butter and gets you to the cold, hard truth. You'll learn how to transform a casual chat into a goldmine of insight, the kind that can save you years of spinning your wheels and nursing a broken heart. This isn't just startup advice. It's about understanding what people genuinely want, desperately need, and will actually pay for. It's a method so elegantly simple and brutally effective. It's called the Mom Test, and it's about to completely rewire how you approach every conversation from here on out. Let's rewind back to that kitchen table with our optimistic entrepreneur and his loving mom. We watched that first conversation crash and burn spectacularly. But what if he'd known the secret? What if he'd done it completely differently? Let's hit rewind. This time, he sits down and doesn't breathe a word about his idea, not a single hint. Instead, he just asks his mom about her actual life. "Hey, Mom, I noticed you picked up some new cookbooks. Where'd those come from?" he asks casually. And his mom, with zero reason to protect anyone's feelings, tells him the unvarnished truth. "Oh, those are just the random gifts people give you at Christmas. Haven't even cracked them open. Honestly, at this point in my life, how many more variations of lasagna do I really need?" Bingo! There's a nugget of pure gold, a real piece of truth. Notice he didn't ask for her opinion. He asked about something that actually happened in her life. So he digs a bit deeper. "When's the last time you actually bought a cookbook yourself?" She thinks for a moment. "You know, I did grab a vegan cookbook a few months back. Your father's doctor told him to clean up his diet." And there it is, another piece of reality. Experienced cooks might not buy general cookbooks anymore, but they absolutely will buy specialized ones to solve a specific, pressing problem. In just 2 simple, honest questions, Our entrepreneur has learned more valuable information about his potential business than he got from his entire enthusiastic first pitch. He's discovered his initial concept, a general cookbook app for older folks, was probably dead in the water. But he's also stumbled onto two potentially promising angles. Maybe an app for younger, inexperienced cooks who need the basics, or perhaps an app focused on niche recipes, like vegan cooking for health reasons. The second conversation was actually useful. The first was just feel-good theater, and the difference between them is the entire heart of the mom test. The test itself boils down to three beautifully simple rules for asking questions. Rule number 1, talk about their life instead of your idea. Here's the thing, the instant you mention your brilliant idea, the entire dynamic shifts. It stops being about them and their problems, and becomes about you and your fragile ego. People immediately switch into protection mode. They start handing out compliments like candy. And as Fitzpatrick warns us, compliments are the absolute fool's gold of customer research. They're shiny, they make you feel warm and fuzzy, but they're completely worthless. When someone tells you, "That's such a cool idea," or "I love it," that's not data. That's just them being polite humans. The only way to get actual useful data is to talk about concrete, real things in their world. Dive into their problems, their goals, their daily routines, their frustrations. Your precious idea shouldn't even make a cameo appearance until much, much later in the process. Rule number 2. Ask about specifics in the past, instead of generics or opinions about the future. Here's a fun fact about human brains. We're absolutely terrible at predicting our own future behavior. When you ask someone a hypothetical like, "Would you ever buy a product that does X?" they're practically hardwired to be optimistic. They picture their ideal self, the organized, productive, healthy person they aspire to be, and they answer on behalf of that fantasy version. But that's not the person who actually opens their wallet. The person who buys things is the one living in the messy reality of right now. So instead of asking, "Do you think you'd use a fitness app?" you ask, "Walk me through the last time you tried starting a new workout routine." Instead of, "How much would you pay for this?" you ask, "How much are you currently spending to deal with this problem?" Or, "What have you already tried?" The past is concrete. It's a record of what actually happened. That's where truth lives. If someone insists they have this huge, painful problem, but they've never even Googled for a solution, then guess what? It's probably not actually that painful. Their past actions tell a way more honest story than their future promises ever will. And rule number 3 is the simplest. Talk less and listen more. Your mission in these conversations isn't to convince anyone. It's not to sell. It's purely to learn. Every second you spend talking is a second you're not learning. The more your mouth is moving, the worse you're doing. Let them talk. Embrace the awkward silences. Let them fill the empty space. You're an archaeologist here, carefully brushing away dust to reveal the fragile truth underneath. These 3 rules are your foundation. But knowing the rules and actually applying them in real life, when you're face to face with another human being, are 2 very different things. Because even when you're trying to ask good questions, bad data will sneak in through the cracks. Fitzpatrick identifies 3 main flavors of bad data that'll constantly try to lead you astray: compliments, fluff, and ideas. Learning to spot and handle these is one of the most crucial skills you can develop. Let's start with compliments. We've touched on this, but it's worth hammering home. When someone says, "That's a great idea," alarm bells should go off in your head. They're trying to politely end the conversation. Your job is to gently sidestep the compliment and steer things back to the facts of their life. If they say, "I love it," you smile and respond, "Thanks, I really appreciate that. But honestly, I'm still just trying to get my head around this whole space. Can you tell me how you're handling this problem right now?" You're ignoring the worthless compliment and using it as a springboard to ask a much better question. You're pivoting from their opinion of your idea to the facts of their actual life. The second type of bad data is what the author calls fluff. This is anything generic, hypothetical, or floating out in the future. It's when people say things like, "I usually," or "I always," Or the most dangerous phrase in the English language, I would definitely buy that. This is fluff, because it's not tethered to reality. It's abstract nonsense. The way you handle fluff is by anchoring it to a specific moment in the past. If someone says, "Oh yeah, I lose my keys constantly," that's pure fluff. It has zero value. You anchor it by asking, "Really? When's the last time that happened? Walk me through it." Suddenly, you're not talking about some generic problem anymore. You're talking about a real story. You'll learn where they were, what they were doing, how frustrated they felt, and crucially, what they actually did to solve it. Maybe they tore their house apart for an hour. Maybe they have a spare key duct-taped under a rock. Maybe they just shrugged and took an Uber. The story behind the generic claim is where the valuable insights hide. Fitzpatrick tells this great story about overhearing a guy in a coffee shop grumbling, "Which genius decided I should have to carry around 1,000 of these stupid loyalty cards? This sounds like the perfect customer for a mobile loyalty app, right?" A bad entrepreneur would jump in and say, "Hey, I'm actually building an app for exactly that. Would you use it?" And the guy would enthusiastically say, "Hell yes," and our entrepreneur would walk away clutching a handful of completely worthless fluff. A good entrepreneur armed with the mom test would say, "I know, right? My wallet looks like it's about to explode. Hey, have you ever tried any of those loyalty apps on your phone?" This simple question anchors his complaint to his actual past behavior. His answer will tell you everything you need to know. If he says, "Wait, those exist? I had no idea," you've learned that discoverability is a massive hurdle for your business. If he says, "Yeah, I downloaded a couple, but I don't want 100 different apps any more than I want 100 different cards," you've learned that your solution needs to be universal to actually create value. Or he might say, "I'll check that out sometime." And if that's his response, you've learned that while it's annoying, it's not painful enough for him to solve right now. He's a complainer, not a customer. The third kind of bad data is more subtle. It's ideas and feature requests. This often happens when a conversation is flowing really well. The person you're talking to gets excited and starts brainstorming with you. They'll say stuff like, "You know what you should add? A feature that syncs with Excel." The rookie mistake is to just scribble "add Excel sync" on your to-do list. This is exactly how products become bloated, confusing Frankenstein monsters. This is the highway to feature creep hell. Your job isn't to blindly obey every request. Your job is to understand what's driving it. Why do they want that feature? What problem would it actually solve? How are they managing without it right now? So you dig deeper. You ask, "That's interesting. What would syncing to Excel let you do that you can't do now?" Maybe they'll say, "Well, my boss demands all our reports in this specific Excel format, and it takes me an entire week at the end of every month to manually pull it all together." Okay, now you've uncovered a serious, expensive pain point. The feature request is pointing toward a deep, real problem. Or they might say, "I don't know, it just seems like it would be nice to have." In that case, you've just learned it's a minor convenience, not a must-have feature. You can safely ignore it. Fitzpatrick shares this painful, personal story about this exact mistake. His company was building a tool for MTV, and MTV asked for an analytics dashboard. So they spent 3 entire months building this beautiful, complex, powerful analytics dashboard with a million bells and whistles. And when they finally delivered it, MTV never used it. Not even once. Instead, every single Friday, they'd call Rob and ask him to manually export the numbers and email them over. He was completely mystified and increasingly frustrated. Why would they ask for this incredible dashboard and then completely ignore it? Finally, after weeks of this annoying routine, he asked the simple question he should have asked from day one. "Why do you guys actually need these reports?" And the client casually said, "Oh, nobody here actually reads them. We just need to email something to our own clients at the end of the week to show we're doing stuff and keep them happy. We figured it would look more professional if it had our logo on it." Let that sink in for a second. The problem wasn't about understanding data or making better decisions. The problem was about managing their own client relationships and looking competent. If they'd understood the actual motivation, they could have built a dramatically simpler, completely different solution in a fraction of the time. Instead of a complex dashboard, they could have built a simple tool that automatically emailed a branded, one-page PDF report every Friday. That one mistake, born from accepting a feature request at face value, cost them 3 months of precious development time. This is the danger of not digging beneath the surface. The mantra here is powerful and worth remembering. They own the problem, you own the solution. It's your job to understand their world so deeply that you can design a better solution than they could ever dream up themselves. So you're learning to dodge bad questions and deflect bad data, but that's only half the battle. You also need to make sure you're asking the important questions, the questions that actually de-risk your business in meaningful ways. Fitzpatrick says that in every conversation, you should ask at least one question that absolutely terrifies you. A question where a bad answer could completely obliterate your business idea. These are the questions we naturally avoid because we're scared of what we might hear. If your idea depends on people paying a premium price, you need to ask about their budget. If it depends on them switching away from an established competitor, you need to ask what it would take for them to actually make that switch. If it has potential legal risks, you need to talk to lawyers. You have to face the scariest parts of your idea head on, no matter how uncomfortable. This is why you have to learn to genuinely love bad news. Bad news isn't failure. Bad news is learning happening in real time. Discovering that your idea is fundamentally flawed is actually a gift. It saves you from wasting months or years building something nobody wants. Every no you hear, every lukewarm response is valuable information pushing you closer to the truth. Now, as you get better at this whole process, your conversations will naturally evolve. In the beginning, you're purely in learning mode. You're a detective, gathering facts about the world as it actually exists. But at some point, once you have a clearer picture of the problem, you need to start introducing your solution and testing whether anyone is actually willing to take a concrete step toward buying it. This is where the concepts of commitment and advancement come into play. These are the tools you use to cut through the final layers of politeness and figure out if you have an actual customer or just a friendly acquaintance who's being nice. Commitment is when they give you something of real value. It's a currency. It could be their time, their reputation, or their money. Advancement is when they agree to move to the next clear, concrete step in your process, getting them closer to an actual sale. Let me paint you a picture. A bad meeting ends with a compliment and something vague like, "This looks great, let me know when it launches." This feels good in the moment, but it's actually a complete failure. It's a polite brush-off. You've learned absolutely nothing, and there are no next steps. You're stuck in what Fitzpatrick brilliantly calls the friend zone of startups. A successful meeting ends with clear commitment and advancement. Instead of the vague "let me know," they actually give you something concrete. Maybe it's a time commitment. "Okay, this is interesting. Can we schedule another meeting next Tuesday so you can show this to my technical team?" That's advancement. Maybe it's a reputation commitment. "You know who you really need to talk to? My boss. She controls the budget for this kind of thing. Let me make an introduction." That's advancement. They're putting their own reputation on the line for you. And the strongest commitment, obviously, is a financial one. This could be a pre-order, a deposit, or even just a signed letter of intent. When someone says, "I would definitely buy that," your response should be, "That's great to hear. We're actually taking pre-orders for the first batch with just a $50 deposit. Can I sign you up right now?" Their answer to that question is the truth. Everything before it was just pleasant conversation. Pushing for commitment isn't about being a pushy salesperson. It's about creating a moment of truth. You're giving them a concrete, low-risk way to either back up their nice words with a tiny action or reveal that they were just being polite. Either outcome is a win for you because now you actually know where you stand. Of course, to have these conversations, you need to find people to talk to. This can feel like the hardest part of the whole process. The key, Fitzpatrick argues, is to keep it casual. You don't always need to schedule formal, intimidating one-hour meetings. Some of the best learning happens in quick, 5-minute chats. At a conference, in a coffee shop, or at a local meetup. If you're building something for baristas, hang out in coffee shops. If you're building for public speakers, go to conferences. Immerse yourself in their natural habitat. And when you meet them, just start a normal human conversation. Don't frame it as an interview or research session. Just be genuinely curious about their work and their problems. You can extract incredible insights without them ever realizing you have a business idea brewing. When you do need to ask for a formal meeting, especially with someone important or busy, how you frame the request is everything. Don't just say, "Can I pick your brain?" That immediately signals you're a time waster with nothing to offer. Instead, use this simple 5-part formula: vision, framing, weakness, pedestal, and ask. It looks something like this. Hi Jane, vision. I'm an entrepreneur trying to solve the problem of X in your industry. Framing. We're super early on and I don't have anything to sell yet. Weakness. To be honest, I'm really struggling to understand the problem from your perspective. Pedestal. Given your experience at XYZ company, you could probably save me from months of stupid mistakes. Ask. Would you be open to a brief chat in the next couple of weeks to help point me in the right direction? This type of request works like magic because it's clear, respectful of their time, and positions them as an expert mentor who can help. You're not asking for a favor. You're offering them a chance to share their wisdom. Finally, as you have more and more of these conversations, it's easy to get completely overwhelmed. You talk to 5 different people and get 5 totally different opinions. The feedback is all over the map. This is usually a huge red flag that your target customer is way too broad. You can't build a product for students or small businesses. Those categories are massive and contain dozens of completely different types of people with wildly different needs. A PhD student studying astrophysics has absolutely nothing in common with a first grader learning to read. A local coffee shop has nothing in common with a high-tech software startup with venture funding. You have to get specific, really specific. This is a process Fitzpatrick calls customer slicing. Keep narrowing down your audience until you have a crystal clear, vivid picture of exactly who you're serving first. Instead of moms, it's first-time moms in urban areas who shop at Whole Foods and are constantly worried about their child's nutrition. When you get that laser-focused, a few magical things happen. First, your product decisions become dramatically easier because you know exactly whose opinion actually matters. Second, your marketing becomes easier because you know exactly what language to use and what pain points to hit. And third, finding these people becomes exponentially easier. You don't vaguely look for moms, you literally go hang out at Whole Foods. A good customer segment isn't just a who, it's a who-where pair. The entire process, from that first scary conversation to a genuinely validated business idea, is a journey. It's a process of methodically replacing your own hopeful assumptions with the hard facts of your customers' actual lives. It's about having the humility to truly listen, the courage to ask scary questions that might destroy your idea, and the discipline to separate the truth from well-intentioned lies. It's not easy. You'll make mistakes, you'll ask dumb questions, you'll slip into pitch mode when you absolutely shouldn't. That's completely okay. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. It's about building your company on a foundation of reality, not on a bed of compliments and fluff. Because in the end, the market doesn't care about your feelings. It only cares if you solve a real painful problem. And the mom test is your field guide to finding one. As we wrap this up, I want to zoom out and reflect on why this seemingly simple book has had such a massive impact on the world of startups and entrepreneurs. On the surface, the mom test is a tactical playbook. It hands you a set of rules, scripts, and specific techniques for having better conversations. And if that's all you take from it, it'll still be incredibly valuable. But I think the real wisdom of this book runs much, much deeper. It's not just about what you do, it's about a fundamental shift in how you see the world. The default mindset for any creator, any entrepreneur, is one of hope and persuasion. We fall head over heels in love with our idea, and our natural instinct is to go out into the world and convince everyone else to love it too. We treat conversations like a stage to perform on. We polish our pitch, handle objections, try to win the argument and close the deal. The mom test asks us to do something radically, almost uncomfortably different. It asks us to stop performing and start genuinely listening. To trade the role of passionate advocate for that of humble, curious student. It completely reframes the goal of early conversations, from validation to learning. You're not trying to prove you're right, you're trying to uncover the truth, even if, especially if, that truth proves you're completely wrong. This is an incredibly difficult emotional shift to make. It requires you to detach your fragile ego from your precious idea. To accept that your brilliant solution might be targeting a problem that literally nobody actually has. It's a process of systematically dismantling your own assumptions, one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And that can be a genuinely painful, humbling experience. But it's also incredibly liberating. It frees you from the crushing pressure of having to be the genius with all the answers. Instead, your job is simply to be the person who asks the best questions. Your job is to understand someone else's world so completely, so deeply, that the right solution becomes obvious. And this skill, this ability to uncover the true, unspoken needs of others, extends way beyond just starting a business. It's the foundation of being a great designer, a great leader, a great partner, and frankly, a great friend. It's the art of truly seeing the world through someone else's eyes. So if you take just one thing away from our time together today, let it be this. Shift your focus from your idea to their life. The next time you have an idea, whether it's for a company, a project, or even just a gift for a friend, I challenge you to try a single mom test conversation. Don't mention your idea at all. Instead, ask them about a specific time in their past related to that problem. Ask them what they've already tried. And then just shut up and genuinely listen. You might be genuinely surprised by what you discover. You might find out your idea is fundamentally flawed. Or you might just uncover that one crucial insight that transforms a good idea into a genuinely great one. Either way, you'll have taken a concrete step closer to the truth. And in the long run, the truth is the only foundation actually worth building on. That was a summary of the Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. We've certainly covered the big ideas today, but I have to be honest with you. A summary can only ever be a map. It can show you the major landmarks and the main roads, but it can't replicate the experience of actually walking the terrain yourself. The real magic of a great book is in those quiet moments of reading, when a particular story or a simple phrase lands in a way you didn't expect and completely shifts your thinking. This podcast is here to help you decide if this journey is worth your time. If anything we've talked about has sparked genuine curiosity or a flash of recognition, I wholeheartedly encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning a new skill. It's an experience that can fundamentally change the way you bring your ideas into the world. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It tells us we're on the right track, and it makes sure you won't miss our next exploration into another potentially life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and keep growing together.